Is there really a Boeing plane model that was 7 times more deadly than the 737 MAX? Journey with us as we delve into the shocking truth behind the deadly legacy of the Boeing 377. We reveal shocking details about how frequently the plane crashed and the startlingly long amount of time it took the United States federal government to ground all models of the plane permanently, the beginning of the dark legacy. They thought they were boarding the pinnacle of luxury in the sky. Little did they know, their journey was about to become a living nightmare. In 1947, Boeing revolutionized air travel by introducing its first double-decker airplane, the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser. Sleek, innovative, and boasting unparalleled luxury, it indulged passengers in reclining seats, sleeping berths, and even a cocktail lounge. It soared to altitudes of 32,000 feet at speeds of 340 miles per hour, promising not just a flight, but an experience that would redefine air travel for decades to come. Yet, behind the facade of opulence, something far more sinister lurked within its polished metal exterior. An unseen force that would bring fear and death to the skies. Boeing's shining achievement quickly turned into an airborne nightmare. In just its first year of service, the Stratocruiser became infamous for a series of terrifying engine failures, leading to one of the highest death tolls in aviation history at the time. Over the course of just 10 years, 139 passengers met their grisly fate aboard this ill-fated airliner. What was supposed to be a symbol of post-war progress and luxury became a harbinger of doom for those who dared to step aboard. The skies, once seen as a gateway to adventure, had now become a domain of fear. After World War II, the aviation industry was booming. The war had led to incredible advancements in aircraft technology, and the demand for larger, faster planes soared as airlines rushed to meet the new expectations of a growing passenger base. No longer were planes just a means of getting from point A to point B. They were becoming floating palaces of comfort and leisure. Boeing, eager to capitalize on this new era of air travel, sought to create a plane that would eclipse all others. The result was the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser, a behemoth of the skies that promised to blend military-grade engineering with high-end luxury. But beneath its sleek surface, the Stratocruiser was hiding deadly secrets. The skies became a place of terror as planes started to fall apart mid-air. The Stratocruiser's design was bold, borrowing heavily from Boeing's military aircraft experience during the war. The 4-engine plane was based on the C-97 Stratofreighter, a military transport plane itself derived from the B-29 Superfortress, one of the most powerful bombers of World War II. Boeing's decision to build on proven technology seemed at first like a brilliant move. What could possibly go wrong? Unfortunately, almost everything. From the very beginning, the Stratocruiser was plagued by mechanical failures, most notably involving its massive Pratt & Whitney R4360 engines. These engines were the most powerful radial engines ever used on a commercial aircraft, capable of producing up to 3,500 horsepower thanks to a cutting-edge water injection system. But they were also unreliable and prone to catastrophic failure. Are you enjoying this video? Like, subscribe, and share for more spine-chilling mysteries. We greatly appreciate you. Within months of entering service, the Stratocruiser was already making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Passengers would hear strange noises coming from the engines mid-flight. Vibrations would rattle through the cabin, sometimes so violently that drinks would spill, and the normally unflappable flight attendants would glance nervously at one another. In some cases, the engines would overheat, catching fire mid-air and filling the plane with acrid smoke. The terrified passengers had no idea that what was happening above them could mean the difference between life and death. The worst incident in the Stratocruiser's early years came in 1952. A Pan Am flight from Rio de Janeiro to New York, carrying 50 passengers and crew, vanished without a trace over the dense Amazon rainforest. Search and rescue teams combed the jungle for days, but all they found were twisted pieces of wreckage scattered across the canopy. The aircraft had broken apart mid-air, its propeller blades shearing off and sending the plane plunging into the jungle below. None of the 50 souls aboard survived, and the missing propeller was never found. It was only later that the horrifying truth emerged. Boeing had rushed the design of the Stratocruiser to meet the post-war demand, cutting corners in the process. The engines, which had been designed for military aircraft that could be serviced after every flight, were woefully ill-suited for commercial use. The result? Engine failures, fires, and in some cases complete structural collapse. But this was just the beginning of the Stratocruiser's deadly legacy. What if the very technology meant to ensure survival was the harbinger of death? The truth behind the Stratocruiser's mechanical failures was even more chilling than anyone could have imagined. The engine issues were alarming enough, but the real danger lay in the aircraft's propellers. Boeing had originally intended to use less powerful engines, but under pressure from Pan Am's CEO, Juan Trippe, they installed the massive R4360 engines instead. These engines required propellers unlike any other, hollow-core steel propellers designed to be lightweight and efficient, but the design was fatally flawed. The hollow-core propellers were fragile. To reduce weight, they were filled with a rubber-like material called neoprene, which was meant to dampen vibrations. However, during flight, the neoprene could come loose and shift inside the blade, throwing the propeller dangerously off balance. This imbalance would often cause the propeller to crack, or worse, shear off entirely. In many cases, these failures led to catastrophic mid-air disintegration, with the propeller blades tearing through the fuselage and dooming the aircraft. The most infamous Stratocruiser accident involving these propellers occurred in 1956, on a Pan Am flight from Honolulu to San Francisco. Midway through the flight, one of the aircraft's 4 propellers began to spin out of control, creating massive drag that threatened to pull the plane out of the sky. The pilots fought to regain control, but the situation worsened when a second engine failed, leaving the plane limping along with only 2 functioning engines. The pilots had no choice but to attempt a water landing, and miraculously, all 24 passengers survived. But questions about the Stratocruiser's safety couldn't be ignored any longer. Investigations revealed the shocking truth about the propeller design, and it soon became clear that the aircraft was a disaster waiting to happen. Yet despite the growing list of fatalities, it took until 1958, after 13 fatal accidents and the loss of a quarter of Pan Am's Stratocruiser fleet, for the Civil Aeronautics Board to officially ground the aircraft and demand the removal of the hollow-core propellers. To this day, 13 large fatal accidents spanning just 7 years makes the Boeing 377 literally 7 times more deadly than the 737 MAX. By that time, the damage had been done. The Stratocruiser was already infamous, and its name became synonymous with fear. Every airline that had placed orders for the plane faced devastating financial losses, with planes crashing almost yearly between 1952 and 1959. For passengers, the thought of boarding a Stratocruiser was enough to induce cold sweats and sleepless nights. Even in death, the Boeing 377 refused to rest in peace. By the early 1960s, the once luxurious Stratocruiser had become an albatross around the neck of the airlines that operated it. Facing mounting safety concerns and growing financial losses, the airlines scrambled to sell off their remaining planes, sometimes for as little as $7,500, a far cry from the original $1.3 million price tag. Most believed that this cursed aircraft would be consigned to the scrap heap, never to fly again. But the Stratocruiser's story didn't end there. In a bizarre twist, a small group of bold engineers saw potential in the wreckage of the Stratocruiser fleet. Led by entrepreneur Jack Conroy and financier Leo Mansdorf, they embarked on a daring project to transform the Stratocruiser from a flying death trap into something entirely new, a massive cargo plane capable of carrying rocket parts for NASA. They christened their creation the Pregnant Guppy for its swollen, ungainly appearance, and set about converting the Stratocruiser into a plane that could transport parts of the Titan and Saturn rockets. Most thought the idea was pure madness. The Stratocruiser, already notorious for its mechanical failures, was hardly the ideal candidate for such an ambitious project. Engineers warned that the plane's frame wouldn't be able to handle the modifications, and that its already fragile engines would likely give out under the strain. But Conroy and Mansdorf were undeterred. They pushed the limits of the aircraft's design, reinforcing the fuselage and outfitting it with new engines. Incredibly, the Pregnant Guppy was a success. In 1963, the Pregnant Guppy made its first successful flight, transporting parts of NASA's Gemini rocket to the launch site. Later, it would carry components for the Saturn rockets used in the Apollo missions, playing a key role in putting a man on the moon. It was an ironic twist of fate. The plane that had once brought death and destruction was now helping to achieve one of humanity's greatest achievements. Today, the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser has all but vanished from memory. Only one Super Guppy remains in operation, still used by NASA to transport oversized cargo. The rest of the fleet was either scrapped or quietly retired, its dark legacy buried beneath the triumphant stories of the jet age that followed. Few aviation enthusiasts remember the Stratocruiser, and even fewer are aware of the horror that once accompanied it. No museums display the aircraft, and no monuments have been erected in its honor. Yet for those who know its history, the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser will forever be a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the horrifying price of technological failure, a dark legacy in the skies. The Boeing 377 Stratocruiser represents a unique chapter in aviation history. It's a tale of engineering hubris, corporate ambition, and the relentless pursuit of profit at the cost of human lives. What began as a dream of luxurious transcontinental travel ended in a nightmare of fiery crashes and mid-air disintegrations. The Stratocruiser's legacy is a haunting one, an aircraft that should have been remembered for its opulence, but instead became synonymous with terror. For those brave enough to seek out the forgotten stories of aviation's darkest corners, the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser stands as a reminder. In the skies, not everything is as it seems. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to share it with other fans of aviation history, and always keep one eye on the skies.